Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today, the bizarro Tom Knighton, otherwise known as Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie.
Wait, since I'm sitting in for Bizarro Charlie, am I Bizarro Charlie?
There you go.
Bizarro Tom.
That word. There you go. There you go. It is not the attitude from Bearing Arms. It is Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. And as I'm busily working, trying to get the social media commentary hooked back up, and we look to be hooked up now, I want to invite everybody to comment. If you want to get in on the broadcast, we'll get your comments up and talk to them. Charlie, a little bit of an eventful weekend, man.
Yeah, it has been. I want to say this before we kick things off. I'm sitting here thinking about this as we're getting things going, and we didn't have this pre-COVID. And I think this is one of the good things that comes out of the COVID-19 is that the SAF was, wanted a way to reach out with people, and more people were home, and people were available to tune in, and you were able to have people on as guests, and I'm really enjoying the Bullet. I'm being on and listening to it, and all the people that are on it. So this is a nice thing.
Yeah, well, it allowed me a way to do what I do full time rather than when I get time and I come off the road. It's been a true blessing for me, and a way to do what I do and reach I'm not gonna lie, I used to reach a lot of people, but that's tiny compared to what I do now. And God bless Alan Gottlieb, God bless the whole crew at SAF, because this has allowed me to multiply my voice times a million.
It's wonderful.
So, let's one thing that we wanted to talk about, and we started this conversation several appearances ago when you were on, but we've talked about it offline when we have conversations every once in a while, and that's this. Let's talk about the difference, and there is one, between constitutional and permitless carry. The way when it gets brought up to me, the way I define constitutional carry is if I can open carry a Glock 18 onto school grounds, that's constitutional carry.
That is freedom, baby.
And a Glock 18, for those of you who are not, very deep into the gun world, the Glock 18 is the machine pistol. It's the fully automatic handgun.
Have you fired one?
I did once when I was down in Vegas for SHOT Show. I got to fire one once, and I got to run one magazine through it. It took about 2 seconds.
About 2 seconds, which means probably less.
Yeah. You got to figure adrenaline in there. So yeah, it was. Oh my goodness!
That was fast. I fired one at a machine gun shoot in Pennsylvania a couple years ago with Josh Prince, and it was fast.
There. I will tell you, there is nothing like it. I wish that the rule that went through, and I forget the name of the amendment. I think it's not the Lautenberg Amendment, but it's a Reagan era rule that says that any fully automatic that is made after 1987 is no longer allowed to be possessed by the public. Period. That needs to go away, because if you jump through the hoops, you ought to be able to own these things. They're just that much fun.
If you can afford them, I say rock on.
Absolutely. So, but to get into the definitions, there are several states that have permitless carry. There are now 24 once the laws all go into effect, and the laws stagger as they go into effect. But there are 24 that have been signed into law. I believe in the next few weeks there's going to end up being 25 or 26. Not
Yeah,
all of them are constitutional.
right. What, Georgia and Nebraska are flirting with it as well?
Yes. Yes. I think Georgia's going to do it this week. I think Nebraska will do it next week.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, you've been saying this for quite some time, and we did talk about it last week. The you used to say, or you would say, that nobody has constitutional carry, it's permitless carry. And I used to sit there and be like, why is he getting hung up on this? And then I started thinking about it, and every time I say constitutional carry, I think to myself, it's not constitutional carry, it's permitless carry. And I've seen the error of my ways. But our good friend John Petrolino wrote a story in Bearing Arms, and he was having this discussion with one of his fans, and they were talking about. He said, "Why do you call it permitless carry? And why do you not put the dash between permit and less? Why do you put it all as one word?" And what? So this person calls it constitutional carry. This person calls it constitutional carry. Why do you call it permitless carry? And John wrote this great article on the difference between the two. So everybody should go check it out. He brings up all the stuff. It says constitutional carry means you believe in the Constitution and you've got the right to keep and bear arms, and it shall not be infringed. And permitless means there are still infringements. There are still places you can't carry. There are you probably don't have reciprocity. In occupied territory where I live, there are still some things you can't have, like magazines that have more than 10 rounds, and brand new Glocks and brand new Kimbers, and we have an assault weapon ban in my state, and all this sort of nonsense. So that would eliminate all of that, like the constitutional carry versus the permitless carry.
And I would even go so far as to say South Dakota does not have constitutional carry, because I cannot carry in a bar or restaurant that gets 51% or more of their revenue from the sale of alcohol, whether or not I drink. And I don't drink.
Right.
So, to me, it's a silly rule, but I could get in trouble if I carried in those places. So,
it's I did a couple of Utah classes over the weekend, and there are some states that allow you to carry into a bar, which sells more than 51% of their sales go to alcohol. There are places you can carry in the bar if you have a carry permit, and if you're not drinking.
Right. I honestly believe the law ought to be, and I think it is in Colorado. We were talking about a story on Friday when I had Alex Uli on with me. I think it's this way in Colorado. You can carry wherever you want to if you got a permit in Colorado. However, it's very similar. You can only have a 0.04% blood alcohol content, I think it is, and after that, you can't be carrying anymore. Personally, right. And this is long. It was this way long before I had my stroke, and when I did still drink. My personal rule always has been, my first drink, the gun goes away, and I have a designated shooter with me, a designated defender.
There you go.
And
the DD.
And I do not strap a firearm back on until I have finished drinking for at least 12 hours.
That's a good policy. I've spent a lot of time drinking when I was younger, and my personal policy is, if I'm going to have a dinner, I'm going to have a meal, I'll have a drink if I'm carrying, and that's it. If I'm going to go in and I'm going to have 7 Jack on the rocks, I leave the gun in the car and I just take knives with me.
There you go.
And actually, if you order a steak, the people will give you a knife.
Yes, they will. Let me get. Not a very good one, though, usually. And you'd be surprised with the reaction you get when you pull a K-bar out at the steakhouse, man. It just, They go nuts. Let me get some comments in here, because we're getting a lot of them coming in.
Awesome.
Charlie says, and Charlie rides shotgun with me.
Yes, Sandhills Media's John Anderson, and he's
Yep.
got a sticker that he keeps on the on his cabinet.
And he did ride shotgun with you just after you did the Mag 40 last year in South Dakota.
Yes, we were in Norfolk, Nebraska, and we Norfolk, Nebraska is the home of Johnny Carson.
Yep. He also asked, you can't own a Glock 18, can you? Were there any made pre-Hughes? I do not believe there were. Hughes, I believe, and that was the Hughes Amendment. Now my brain kicks into gear. I believe the Hughes Amendment was 1984, if my memory serves, and I do not believe the Glock 18s were made until 87, 88. I think. But I do not, trust me, I'm not that much of an expert.
Right. I mean, some of the laws take a couple years to kick in, so.
Yeah. Charlie Chambers says, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, quote, she believes the RKBA was established by the Supreme Court. That, friends, is a judicial philosophy taken straight from the pages of Gun Banning 101. That's a Tom Gresham tweet. Yeah, it was established by the Supreme Court. Notice she's being nominated to go on to the Supreme Court, which means she believes she can change that.
Yeah, but she also doesn't know what the definition of a woman is. So,
yeah.
I mean, right. And she's part of the reason she was picked is because she's a woman and she doesn't even know what that means.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
I can tell you what. I can tell you that. I can tell you Will Smith slaps like one. But anyway, let's keep going here. Again, John says no dates on Nebraska LB 773 going to select file. My understanding was, and I'm not. I mean, I'm next door to Nebraska, but I'm not deeply connected to what's going on in Nebraska. But my understanding was this week they're working on budget stuff. Next week is when they go to the stuff they've got to get done before the legislature shuts down. So, and I do have, not tonight, but 1 week from tonight, I have the Trish Harold from the Nebraska Firearms Owners Association is going to be the guest on Polite Society podcast, which airs at 6 p.m. Central Time on Mondays. And we'll get the scoop 1 week from tonight on that. So, and he wants to correct our pronunciation. It's Norfolk.
Norfolk. I knew he would do that. He told me the whole story about it. There's a fork in the river.
Yeah.
And the post office couldn't spell it right.
Larry wants to know, does that mean the use of deadly force is irrelevant if you are not a doctor or maybe not a lawyer? You believe me, the lawyer will make sure that it is very relevant, and the lawyer being the prosecuting attorney will make sure it's very relevant.
Oh, sure. They'll try to make those definitions nice and clean.
Charlie says, Ukraine and Russia just offered to send peacekeepers to the Academy Awards. Wow. Nice. We've got some great viewers, man. I'm telling you.
So this is how off the deep end I have become. Not only do I think the whole thing last night was staged, and I didn't watch it. I don't have cable. I don't care. Not only do I think it was staged, I watched some of the video, and Chris Rock, the left side of his face wasn't really moving. So I'm wondering if he had a couple shots of Novocaine so he didn't feel it before he knew it was coming. That's how ridiculous I am.
I'm going to say this, the bullet is about gun rights, okay? But this is all anybody's talking about. If I walk up and I smack somebody, even open-handed, they're at least going to a knee. And and I'm an old, out of shape trucker.
Right.
And you're not, and you're going to hear it in the next 2 rooms over. I don't care how big the room is.
Right.
You didn't really hear that thing, and Chris Rock was mic'd.
He was mic'd. Yeah, absolutely.
So you heard him shouting from off stage more than you heard the smack. So yeah, dude, I'm right there with you. It was staged. Yeah. They have more. I don't want to say they have more. They have probably as many cameras at the Oscars as they do at the Super Bowl, and we get one view of the thing.
One shot, yeah. One shot. Oh, we're completely off track here.
Yeah, we are. All right.
So one of the things that John pointed out that I think is pretty cool, and this is what John Petrolino brings to writing, is he talks about comparing champagne to sparkling wine, and some people get upset when you call champagne sparkling. You call sparkling wine champagne because that's just the generic term that we call sparkling wine. But if it doesn't come from Champagne, it's not actually Champagne, France. It's not actually champagne. But we all know what he's talking about. Very much like constitutional carry and permitless carry, which I think is a really good comparison because this makes sense to a lot of people.
Well, and let's bring it down to the gun community. It's a little less egregious than this, but there's a big difference between a magazine and a clip. They're used interchangeably in the general public, but I'm not putting a clip in my Glock.
Exactly. So I don't know if anyone's looked up the definition of magazine, but a definition of a magazine is a small room that holds ammunition. And that's what a magazine does. It's a small room that holds ammunition. It's got a spring. It's a magazine. It's a Pez dispenser.
I'm really worried. The last time I'm going to explain myself. I'm not going to do what I was tempted to do. I'm holding right here in my hand. I've got something that we were describing. I've got a magazine in my hand. Okay, it's completely covered up, so the camera can't see it. But it's a magazine for a Smith & Wesson Shield in 9mm. But I would hold it up to the camera. But the last time I held up something to the camera was my AR-15 that my wife bought me for a Christmas present, and that got us taken off of YouTube in about 30 seconds. And I don't want to do that again. So
I can't believe YouTube is watching.
Oh, I don't know how. I don't know. I'm serious. I held up and I did this, and just to show the FN logo, and as within 30 seconds we were down. And I do not want to do that again. So
yeah, absolutely not.
I would show you what a magazine is, but I'm really afraid we're going to get taken down. So I'm just going to show my head, not and that it fits inside my hand. I'm not going to show the actual magazine. And Larry says at a point in history, Life was a magazine. Yep, it was. Now it's a website.
Right.
It may still print it. I don't know. It may still be in print. I haven't. Yeah, they used to have, when you went to a bookstore, they used to have a rack of magazines. When you went to your convenience stores, they had a rack of magazines that you could, Car and Driver was there. The big one I used when I was a teen, I used to love getting Cycle World, the motorcycle magazine. I haven't seen those in decades out. So, yeah.
I don't want to tell you the magazines I used to get when I was young.
More than likely, you weren't able to go up and pay for them anyway. You had to have, an older person do that for you.
You had to have a fake beard? Oh.
Oops, wrong button. Let's get that one up there. All right. Let's do this. I want to talk a little bit about the...
Thanks, Barry.
The next story I want to talk about is off of Ammoland, and there's an author that I kind of caught my eye when I was going through my news search this morning. The story is Biden's ATF rogue gun dealer claim just made up. It was written by a dude I know named Charlie Cook.
Yes. Yeah, so I've been making videos for Ammoland, and the Second Amendment Foundation wanted to get a Freedom of Information Act from the ATF on all of these rogue dealers. And we've talked about the rogue dealers, and we're trying to find out, we talk about them, we try to figure out what they are. Is it somebody selling guns out of the trunk? Is it someone selling guns out of their, overcoat? But the rogue dealers are people who transfer firearms to prohibited persons. They fail to conduct background checks. They falsify records and just refuse to cooperate with the ATF. The SAF wants to find out how many stores there are and where these stores are. So they filed a Freedom of Information Act, and it took them 4 months before the ATF replied. They finally got someone on the phone, and that person said they would get back to the SAF, and then so they filed a FOIA to get information from the first FOIA.
Yeah.
So it's crazy talk. It's crazy talk that the government won't even answer questions about what a rogue dealer is and how many of these rogue dealers are there.
And Lee Williams, who leads the Second Amendment Foundation's investigative reporting division, when the last time I was texting with him, he said it looks like we're going to have to sue them to get that information. And that's not exactly a fast process, but it looks like the way it's going to have to happen.
And it's also it's the OIA. It's not the FOIA. It's not the Freedom of Information Act.
Yes,
it's just the Information Act. Yeah, and there ain't nothing free about all this pursuing.
No,
pursuing all this stuff.
And then one more, and I have 4 stories that I'd singled out. I'm going to do the second story last because that's going to be a very long story. I don't think we're going to have time to get through it. But there's another story from Breitbart that I wanted to talk about a little bit. And David Hogg and the folks from March for Our Lives are really pushing again. And what they're pushing for is something they said they want really badly: universal background checks. Well, guess what? They were started because of the Parkland shooting, and the Parkland shooter bought his rifle after going through a background check. It wouldn't have stopped anything to do with that shooting.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, the background checks check our background to see if we've committed any crimes. And I haven't committed any crimes. You haven't committed any crimes. We're peaceful, law-abiding people. We're going to pass background checks. And there could be something in either of our lives that changes that. And it doesn't change that. That changes how we behave and how we act. Bringing it back to Will Smith. He's a good actor. Seems like a good guy. What happens last night? If we follow what we see, we're led to believe that Chris Rock cracked a joke. Will Smith lost his cool, went up and smacked him on the face. This could happen to anybody. Something could set you off. Something could set me off. And it could be, it could be someone harming one of my kids that sets me off, and then all of a sudden I'm Bruce Willis and it's Death Wish, or I'm Charles Bronson, and I go and pursue the guy that did harm to one of my people, one of my kids, and then I'm not going to be a law-abiding citizen anymore. And once I commit some sort of a crime, I'm not going to be a law-abiding citizen. The act is going to be done, but I have gotten all of the firearms that I have. I've gotten them through legal channels and legal methods, and I have permits to have them and all that sort of stuff. The background checks do nothing except how we used to behave.
Well, and the way to prevent, there's no way to totally stop it. The way to prevent damage is to make sure there are as many people around that can stop it as is humanly possible, to allow normal adults to carry, to allow normal adults to protect themselves, and in the case of schools, the children they're charged with protecting, the children they're charged with teaching.
Yeah, I've been a teacher for 27 years in public and in private schools. Teachers have your kids' safety the rest of the day. If you drop off your kids at 7:30 in the morning, 7:45 in the morning, and you pick them up when you get off work at about 5:30, 6 o'clock, the kids are in the teacher's care for over 10 hours a day. They already have your kid's life in their hands at school. So the teachers pass background checks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise they don't get jobs as teachers. But if the teachers pass background checks, they can pass a background check to get a firearm license. If they get a firearms license, give them some training, have them take the Faster Saves Lives class, so that they can learn how to protect our children, because they're kind of doing it anyway. It's kind of their responsibility. If there's a fight at the school, you want the teachers to break it up. If there's a fire at school, you want the teachers to get the kids outside of the building. The teachers already have the ability to protect our kids, and this is just another level. And I don't want someone to carry, just like outside of school, I don't want someone to carry a gun that doesn't want to carry a gun. I'm not going to put my will to carry a gun on someone else, and I don't want them to put their will to not carry a gun onto me. So yeah, a complete tangent, but
no,
yeah,
and you're absolutely right. If somebody doesn't feel comfortable carrying a firearm, they're the last person I want carrying a firearm.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Teachers pass background checks. Let them be safe. People say, well, it's not the teacher's job. I went to school to be a band teacher and to teach kids how to play music. I didn't go to school to learn how to deal with kids that have ADD and bad behavior and attention deficit disorder, or kids that are dyslexic. I don't have any of that sort of stuff. When you go to music school, you learn how to teach kids. You learn how to play instruments and teach kids about music. That's what you learn about. But I still have to deal with all these other things, with kids that can't focus and can't pay attention and have behavior problems. And Anyway, teachers have this responsibility already, and if they want to take it up a notch and let them carry, let them get a permit, let them get some training, and let them rock on. And of course, there's a very good chance that it's not going to happen. And to bring it back to the show that we're going to be doing in a half hour, to me, this is where a polite society is a polite society. If I'm carrying a gun and you're carrying a gun, I'm not going to do anything to make you mad, because there could be a possibility, if I do something stupid, if I smack you, then there could be a possibility you get upset by this and you lose your cool and you pull your gun out and shoot me. Guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to smack you. And I'm not going to do anything to make you want to smack me either.
Absolutely. Absolutely. An armed society truly is a polite society. I want to go off one thing. We were talking about background checks a little bit ago and how they're not an absolute guarantee going forward that person will never do anything wrong. They're a good indication, but they're not a guarantee. And I just want to point out one thing, not to disparage teachers at all, but how many times have you seen in the news that this teacher or that teacher or another teacher is being charged with criminal sexual conduct for having sex with a 14, 15, 16-year-old? I see that, and it's usually, and not, it's a bit of, because this is, it's sensationalism in the news. It's usually a female teacher having sex with a male student, and a lot of that is because a male news editor is going, why the hell didn't I have that when I was in high school? But I see stories at least weekly of a teacher who is being brought up on charges for having sexual contact with a minor. All teachers do have to go through background checks. Every once in a very great while, considering the millions of teachers in the United States, one of them screws up. It happens. We're human. Every once in a very great while, somebody that has a concealed carry permit does break the law, but it's rare.
Yeah, I had a friend when I was in high school that was may have had sexual relations with his teacher, but he was homeschooled. I'm kidding.
All right.
On
Well,
that note,
before we go down that rabbit hole,
just a joke, people, just a joke.
All right, let's do this then. I'm going to get this comment up, and then we're going to go ahead and shut her down. Larry says, maybe you've even become a criminal for doing what the law plainly allows, but we're criminalized anyway. Alex Uli and I talked about that a little bit on Friday, that there are laws that this is illegal just because the law says it's illegal, whether or not you were aware of it at the time. And there's a book that I had heard of a long time ago that Alex brought up that I should get and read again, called 3 Felonies a Day. Apparently there are so many laws that on average, your average person commits 3 felonies a day. I try not to commit any, but anyway.
I've heard this before too. So everybody commits 3 felonies a day, and we don't even know it, which probably tells us we have way too many laws.
Amen.
22,000 gun laws in the books, and it's just one more that's going to stop a mass shooting someplace.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and again, criminals don't follow laws, so
right.
Murder's illegal. And,
you know what? Charlton Heston. I have this book that Charlton Heston wrote a long time ago, and it's I forget what the name of it is. I think it's like To My Son or To My Grandchild or something like this. Oh, To Be a Man is what it's called. It's a book he wrote for his grandson, and one of the things he said in the book is, it's rape and murder and crime are already illegal. You can't make them more illegal. And you're like, that really, it makes a lot of sense. You can't rape somebody. It's not legal. You can't kill somebody. It's not legal. You can't steal stuff from people. It's not legal. But these things happen every day.
There is no double secret probation.
Right.
All right. Let's do. We got to go because less than 30 minutes. I've got to have Polite Society podcast up, folks. Come join us over on the Second Amendment Foundation's pages in 30 minutes. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for contributing, everybody. We will see you in 30 minutes. Charlie, thanks again, man.
Thank you.
All right. See you later, everybody.